This is the Run Recap.
So I don't know if I should introduce this necessarily, but this is my friend Kat.
Hello.
And I've been wanting to talk to you for quite a while about your running stuff because I think it's completely fascinating. So I want to start by giving my perspective of your journey that you've been on. And then I'd like you to correct how wrong I am about everything.
Okay.
That's all I think it's nice to start.
So excited to hear it.
Okay, great. Okay, so, well, first of all, actually, how long have you been running relatively consistent? Maybe like off and on, but like, how much has this been a part of your life?
Probably last summer. So we're 2023 summer. We started doing run clubs at Request.
Years before that? Were you
years before that, maybe 10 years before that.
Okay.
In college, I trained for a half. I did a couple halves towards the end of college. So like 2010, 2011, 2012, maybe.
Okay.
And I really screwed my back up. And so then I kind of stopped for a while.
Sure.
And started just doing strength training. Because I was so nervous to run. Because like PT didn't help, but nothing helped. My back was hurting so badly. And then I just maybe used it like periodically at the gym as like cardio, but nothing consistent, never more than like 2 miles, 3 miles. Yeah.
So, okay. So here's what I watched at. Well, actually, first of all, we met up at the Spokane River Run. Was it last year, the River Run, and you were doing, was it last year or 2 years ago?
No, it was last year.
Last year, you were a part of a relay at the Spokane River Run.
Yeah.
And I don't think I knew you were going to be there, right? I think we just ran into each other.
What month was that in? It just happened here recently. What month are we in right now?
Yeah, so it was in April.
April. Yeah. Right. And so, I actually hadn't really started doing run clubs yet even. That was before the summer. So that was completely random.
And you were adamantly not a runner.
No, I was in grad school with these girls who were running and they were like, and I've been doing a lot of strength training stuff. And they were like, oh, you can run. I was like, no, I don't run. Actually, I lift weights.
Yeah.
And then I joined their relay with no practice.
But if your cardio is okay and you're really strong, you can get away with a lot.
Yeah. It was a really hard 7-mile trail run.
It was also a really hard, like, regardless of the shape you were in, that is a really hard 7 miles out there.
Yeah.
There is tough stuff.
Yeah. I'm glad you remember that because I forgot that was maybe the start of it where I got back from that and I got the,
So that's my view. That was like.
Oh, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah. So there's the order, except you wouldn't admit it yet. So so we'll go into my perspective of what I saw happen is, first of all, that happened. And I think then it was a while. We didn't start then going to the Brick West Run Club
June
until, I think it was June. And then, I think our first one is coming up a year ago, right about now.
Yeah.
So something like that.
Oh, fun. And then that's when fun note, you and I finally got to like reconnect after years and years of not really being friends anymore.
Yeah. Cause we barely talk. I mean, we talk occasionally over something. Well, I guess we'd meet on the mountain like once or twice, or there'd just be like something.
But we never were like hanging out
for probably 10 years, maybe more.
Probably more than that.
So, yeah.
So that was just fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So finally got to
talk.
Oh,
we're going to go to a running club so we can like chat.
Yeah. This is where we can be friends.
Yeah.
And so anyway, so you're doing that. Now, I remember through that time, though, instantly, I saw that you could be a very good runner, probably partly because you've been working out a ton. And so once again, my perspective is that you were working out at least 3 times a day. 7 days a week is what it looked like.
Oh, yeah. So
there's that. And you kept showing up and we're like, man, Albert, and you tell me, oh yeah, I just did this and this and this morning. I started at 5 a.m. and had that. And then I had like a noon yoga and I lifted weights before coming here. And now I should probably run also. And, so you were doing that. I'm just jealous because I want to do everything also. And then we run and then you're running, your cardio took a little bit to catch on, but you were super strong through all this. And like, I was seeing some real ability there and I was excited for being a runner, but I would talk to you about it for like the next 3 months And you were very adamantly not a runner. Like, I don't think it was until fall that you finally came around to like, maybe I actually run now.
There was a moment.
No, I lift weights. I don't run. I just happen to show up to this thing.
Yeah, I just happened to do an activity that's running, but I'm not going to consider myself a runner. There was something that happened though that I remember saying, all right, maybe I'm a runner now. And I don't remember what that was. Do you remember?
I don't remember at all.
Dang. Anyway.
I was probably bugging you about something.
Yeah, or I must have like just done some kind of run or race or something. I was like,
Well,
all right, maybe
so-
I can consider myself a runner now.
So then last summer, did you do any races?
No, my first race was after that relay.
Mm-hmm.
My first race was the half a few weeks ago. Was that 7 weeks ago now?
Yeah. Okay.
7 or 8 weeks ago. And then I had Bloomsday 2 weeks after that.
Mm-hmm.
And even my friends who did the relay last year asked me to do it again this year. And I was like, no, I don't run. I'm not going to do another relay.
Right.
And then like a few days later, I signed up for the half.
So what clicked? What caused that shift for you? Did it just become fun enough, or what happened?
Yeah, I think there was something about, so the reason I think I started liking running so much is because at Run Club, you were so fast and I would never push myself to go below like an 8.5, unless I'm on a treadmill and I was like trying to just sprint it out for a few minutes, and you were making me run like sub 8s. And I was like, oh, this is actually kind of fun because I didn't think I could do it. And then I
Was
could
it
do it.
aching you?
Kind of.
I guess there were times, right?
Yeah. Well, you would say that my body just wanted to naturally go that fast. And I'm like, I don't know. I can't breathe. I don't know if my body wants to naturally go this fast. And so then it became really fun, just like to push myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was what like clicked in my head for me. It was like, oh, I can actually do a lot more than I think I can.
What was that process like for you? There are some of these things. So part of the reason this conversation is interesting to me is because I was so little when I overcame those things to where I can't relate to those things. And I enjoy watching other people get to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going through, but it's fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I love watching that click of like, or even everyone has their certain paces that are really smooth, and all of a sudden pushing becomes really fun. Where when you're a newer runner, and I tell people all the time when you're going to start running, no, this is awful. You don't want to do this. It just hurts.
It really
That's it. And especially when you're newer, there's not much payoff to that either. It does just hurt. You're not going very fast. You're not smooth. So you're just pounding your joints. Like everything looks awful.
So like, then what is it that keeps you going when that is what's happening?
Or when did that click happen and how exciting was that, right? Like, was that,
Yeah. I don't know if I can identify the time. I think for me, it was a season of life where like reconnecting, having like social, I don't like making new friends, but like reconnecting with old friends was fun, right? I'm going to re-explain my life story to someone. So that was good. So for me, it was a bit of that. So I'm like, okay, maybe I can be kind of good at this thing. I'm a little bored with just lifting all the time. The mental aspect of it was really helpful for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I am always going 1,000 miles per hour in my mind. And so running, like there's no escaping whatever I'm doing in that moment.
Sure.
I have to like stay there in that.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think I really liked that.
So for you, it requires you to be present.
Yeah. Yeah.
And or do you usually have, there's been a lot of conversation about this, but do you usually have issues with like thinking too far into the future, or are you a future or a past person? It seems that people are.
Well, my Enneagram would say that I'm a present focused person.
just exactly correct. That's how.
But I'm probably mostly like future, like making a plan, and yeah. So I'll like assume things. Yeah, future.
What do you think happens for you to cause you to? What about running makes you be present? Like what's making you?
I have to focus on my breathing. Mm-hmm. So especially running with someone, it's like embarrassing to be gasping for air and you're always trying to talk. And I
get this explained a lot.
Trying not to die and also like be cool and be able to like talk back to you. And we were talking the other day how I was like, I don't ever want someone to feel like I'm not listening to or like engaging in them or carrying out what they're saying. So if you're talking most of the run, I feel like I need to contribute, and I hate not being able to breathe during that because it sounds like I'm out of shape.
So I've had this complaint since I was like in junior high.
That you talk too much.
When I run, I talk a lot. I just get talking. Like all of a sudden, everything's interesting, and it's an easier place for me to talk.
Yeah, that's why your cardio is so good.
And,
you're running really fast while you're talking.
So, yeah. So I think I found a little of the answer to that when Christy and I were running yesterday. She's talking about how so we were there together, but she had to keep her headphones on. She's like, I need music still blasting in here. But then about 2 miles in, she really wanted to talk also because we're running at talking speed. We were doing a really long trail run, so we weren't trying to push anything. Neither one's were breathing hard.
Yeah.
So it's a nice time to talk, right? Yeah. And so she's wanting that, but she also still needed that because for her, she can't be alone with her thoughts. She needs music blasting the thoughts out of her brain. So she can keep going.
So she needed both.
She described it. And right, but think about when we were younger, you couldn't have music like this, right? We didn't have phones. We didn't have like even MP3 players weren't a thing. I guess they were for you, but anyway. So when I started, I was 8 years, 1988, running.
I wasn't even born yet.
Right. Appreciate that. But you know, running with a Walkman was the closest you could get to that. Yeah, it was so big and heavy. You had a cable going all over the place. You should run the cable through your shirt or something to dry you out a little bit. And then headphones were horrible. They were falling off your head all the time. So did that, and then you get into Discman, that did not make it better. Now it's skipping and it's even heavier.
Right.
And that was like, at that point I'm in high school. So most of the running I did when I was doing that.
To learn to be
you never listened to music. That was not a thing that you did. So it's nice for people and you get talking. But my dad would always get frustrated with me because he was always on the steepest hills that I'd start talking the most.
Be like, you can talk, I'm gonna listen.
And he just asked me for all the way.
Right. Yeah.
And then maybe that was the motivation to find, because the other thing that I get really consistently when we're running up a hill with a friend and I'm talking and stuff like that, is they're like, you can just run up the hill, I'll meet you at the top. Like, it's okay, you can just take off. No, I'm trying to hang out with you. But I think I'm actually driving people crazy. So.
I don't mind it. Like, and I think I've told you this. I'm like, this is your time to talk. So I'm going to just listen though. Don't be offended that I'm not responding.
This is my therapy session.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think I had to get comfortable eventually saying that to you because my runs, I would just be like, oh no, I'm going to have to be like insecure about my breathing the whole time.
Right.
And so instead I just told you, like, I'm just kind of listening to you.
I try to help. Like if I'm going to push, then I run by myself.
Yeah.
And if I'm running with people, I just want to hang out with people. Whatever pace we're doing together is fun.
Right.
You know,
I mean, to be fair, when I say you were pushing me to go fast, but I was obviously like along for the ride.
I do think you at least asked for it a few times.
Yeah.
We're like, let's try and push it. Okay,
yeah.
Let's do that. And then, because I love doing that for people when they want to, but I don't like doing it when they don't want to. Obviously, that's not fun. But
right. Yeah, like last week at Run Club, you were like, do you want to push this last little bit or like push up the hill? And I was like, no, you go ahead on each of it. And you're like, no, I'll stay with you. And I was like, no, just go do what you want to do. But also thank you, because if I know that you want to go fast, I'm not going to want to make you go slow. So I'm actually going to try to go fast.
When those things happen, though, I just don't let it. Yeah, I gotta take off.
Yeah.
Like, I gotta, especially because sometimes you're running with something, and I'll show up to things, and I don't feel like going at all. So I'll take off slow and just be talking with somebody. We're both taking a nice, easy day. But sometimes you're about a mile and a half in, you're like, oh, now I'm suddenly really warmed up.
Yeah.
And I feel really good.
Yeah.
And then you want to take advantage of that.
Yep.
Okay, for the next mile and a half, I'm just gonna blast this because it's just something way too fun.
Take advantage of it.
Warm up really nicely.
Totally, yeah.
So, okay. So the next thing. Oh, first of all,
I think
your origin story.
I'm like, I guess that's my origin story. So you had yours by the time you were like 8 or 9, and I had mine at 34. So, and then I think just like, you hang out with people every week. Then I took winter off.
Yeah,
I don't run in cold, and I don't like running in weather, and I was like, no, I'm not up for that. So I did a couple of like treadmill at the gym things, but I just like wasn't running anymore until maybe February or March.
I think so.
Because I was gone. I went on a trip in February, and I was running while I was there.
Yeah.
So
and we're running a little bit before that because February got nice for a little bit.
Right. So then I think you're hanging out with people. Like it's addicting to talk about running. It's addicting to like look at our Stravas and look at our heart rates. And like you and Mike were talking about the heart rate thing last week. And I was like, yeah, it's endless fun to compare and talk, and not like comparing with others, but like you're comparing with your own times and like, why is my heart rate this now? And this another time. So the more you talk about it, the more you're like, oh, I might go on another run and see what results I'll get this time.
Well, and I think that's one of the most fun things about with running club and running community. But I also see this in individual sports. I see this really consistently. The people in individual sports that are really, really pushing they just get excited about everyone else that's also pushing.
Yeah.
So the outcome isn't, no one cares, right? As far as how fast you finish a race at, or I mean, you care a little bit where it's like, it's exciting, but you're not comparing yourself to other people.
No.
Like, oh, that person's that, man, I wish I was that person, or someone did this, and like, oh, but these other people are so slow. But like, that's not what's happening. It's you get excited about, oh, I saw that person really push past their boundaries.
Right.
That's awesome to get to see. And I saw this improvement that this person had. That's exciting to see. And first experienced that with like skate parks are very much that way, where you can go in and it can be an extremely intimidating place. And but when you have a bunch of people there that are good skateboarders on varying levels of good, so you have good, and basically this is the thing they really want. They want to be good at, so they're practicing it, right?
Yeah.
And I can go anywhere from a kid that is learning to drop in for the first time, all the way up to a guy that's, doing tricks that don't make any sense even to me, and then we're all standing together and cheering each other on when we're pushing whatever our limit is.
Right.
And so seeing that there, and then I think then running can be the same type of thing where people can get intimidated showing up to things like that. And I'm always impressed with people that show up that aren't intimidated by that. So
well, that like self-confidence is really fun to see. And I think that's why I think in our group chat the other day, I was kind of like, what's everyone's goals for this thing?
Yeah.
Because this race that we're doing, it's fun to know what other people's goals are, because then as you're training or as you're out for fun runs together, you get to be like, oh, like you are like on your way towards that goal, or like you beat a thing you did before. And you get to celebrate in everyone's individual wins. It's not like a competition between each other, which is like fun and healthy, but there's something about being able to rally around a community of people who are all just celebrating each other.
Right.
That's so like inspiring.
And in our little group chat right now, it's really fun because I don't think any of us are trying to do the same thing at all.
No,
like we all are pushing for drastically different things. I mean, Mike's working on, he's got his 100-miler come up pretty soon.
Yes.
And then
in like 45 days.
And then I suddenly went to like, let's see what 5K speed can do in the next month.
Yeah.
So I'm going super short distance. Christy's just being consistent. I'm
trying to just get out
not
there
necessarily right now.
Yeah.
She's doing her thing and she's enjoying it and having fun.
Yeah.
And then you, I think, are excited about everything.
I am.
And you're like, how can I go the longest possible distance and also go the fastest speed possible? And you're bouncing them back and forth.
Yeah. And that is so like me, because I was so kind of obsessed with this idea, like running with you for a bit, like, okay, make me faster. How can I get faster? Doing the half, I wanted to get a certain time, and I get something in my head. And if I get something in my head, I am just like all in for it. And then I think speed training became really hard for me. I was like, I have to go, because I don't like doing speed training on tracks. I like doing it on the treadmill, where I can see very specifically the pace I'm going and have very specific control over it. And I know you have thoughts about that, but that's what I like to do. And then I was like, it's just annoying to try to get to the gym to do that. Like it's just another thing to do. And it also was really hard. And so then I was like, I can run really slow for a long time. So then I shifted my focus to, Mike, teach me how do I do 100-miler? Yeah. And that happened like almost overnight, I feel like.
Oh, very specifically.
I know why. It's because I injured my hamstring right before the half.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I can't even do anything.
Right.
But then I wasn't going to not finish training for the half. So like, I'm going to put all this speed in right before. And then I had to really back off of it. But I still needed to run. And I think that was my shift of being like, oh, I'm going to go on this long run with Mike and do it nice, long, and slow. And you have permission to walk when you do a long run.
Well, that's probably a great way to rehab
Yeah.
a hamstring, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's because, if it's not running, of course, now you're starting over. You're going to, and oftentimes the injury doesn't heal.
Yeah.
In my experience, if you try to heal with inactivity, in my experience, things you don't heal.
No.
And so you got to find, okay, how do I keep doing what I'm supposed to do without making it worse?
Right.
And
there was that run that you and I did right after my hamstring, and we were trying to go really, really slow. And I think that was always hard. Like, we talked about heart rate and wanting to get heart rate down. My natural heart rate is just like really high all the time. And so I'm like, whatever they're telling me I should be for a certain zone is just like way off. And I could never get it below like 160 on any given run, no matter how hard I tried. And you and I ran really slow that one day to try to rehab my hamstring. And I was like, okay, I can.
how slow were we running? Do you remember?
Like 9.
That's what I was thinking. I probably wasn't actually that slow.
Yeah, it was like 9s. They were 9s, but we had been running like 7:45.
Yeah, well, only just last week with the big hill in it, we averaged 740.
Yeah, and then sometimes we'd go much quicker than that. But that's when I was like, okay, this actually feels okay, so I'm gonna try to just do this now. And then since I couldn't keep up with you and do shorter runs, I'm like, well, I'm gonna learn something different.
Yeah,
and then started making Mike teach me.
It was probably one of the best things for you.
Yeah.
Through that. Okay, so then, and we're a little bit late on this one.
Yeah.
So we'll get to the actual thing we'll talk about that just happened yesterday. So we'll get to there. But before that, I can't leave Bloomsday alone here with this. I need
to do Bloomsday.
Yeah, I want to pull up your straw.
Yeah.
I can't do it on my phone, but I want to look at this and I want to talk through.
It's gonna be a long episode.
Every bit of it.
Oh God, every bit of it. Where is that with Strava?
Yeah.
Can we just talk about how annoying Strava and Apple, you don't have Apple Watch, but Strava and Apple Watch just do not align, and it's so infuriating.
Oh, really?
So I have an Apple Watch that will do my heart rate, and it goes into the Apple activity thing and gives me a heart rate there. But the distances and the times don't, and like my splits don't match Strava. And I trust Strava.
The GPS is notoriously bad.
Right. So, and this is again one of those things we talk about endlessly. But so I just trust Strava's distances, but then I have to rely on Apple's heart rate.
Can you not download? Is Strava not in Apple's App Store?
Well, I'm not paying for Strava, so I don't get Strava's heart rate.
So you can just on my watch, I just downloaded the Strava app. And I use that on my watch.
But then my, if I don't start the activity on my watch, it's not going to monitor my heart rate per split.
So Strava's not monitoring your heart rate?
No.
On your watch?
No.
Oh, that's terrible.
So that's why I've been adding screenshots of my Apple heart rate into my Stravas, but then you're seeing the splits.
Yeah.
So like on one line, you'll see like a split that says maybe like 8 minutes per mile heart rate.
Yesterday,
170.
you specifically had one at 12 and one at 10.
I know.
And Strava said 10, Apple said 12.
Right.
Yeah.
It's wild. And so then I hate that because then I post it and it shows the heart rate linked to a time that's incorrect.
Yeah.
And so I always make these notes in Strava like, this is just for heart rate. Check the actual Strava time.
Only you look at it and judge you, so I'm glad you're
like I
explanations.
Honestly, the reason I'm putting so many notes into Strava lately is because I want to be able to go back and look and see, like, I don't want to have to compare 2 different apps. I want to compare one app.
For sure. Well, and anyone that says, if you want to be good at anything athletics, keeping notes of all those things really is helpful.
Right.
I still have time from high school even.
Oh yeah, that notebook you're talking about. Okay, so here's my Strava for Bloomsday. Or you want paces?
Yeah, let me see that.
God. Okay, should I just say my health situation?
Oh yeah, first of all, okay, well let's back up. I know Mike and I talked about Bloomsday already a little bit, but we should probably recap in case this is going to be an episode. So first of all, we show up to Bloomsday and, well, okay, let's back up before that. You had been pretty, off and on sick for a week and a half leading up to that.
Yeah, we can have
Like-
had a sinus infection.
And then didn't you have a leg thing too?
Yeah, so because 2 weeks before Bloomsday was the half that we all did.
Yeah.
And I hurt my hamstring a couple weeks before the half.
Mm-hmm.
And well, many weeks, but it didn't start to really hurt until a couple weeks before the half. And then I just trained through to the half, and then after the half I backed off a little bit, but not too much, because I wanted to, this will make their Bloomsday.
Right.
And it's been like 10 years since I did it, and 12 years. And then the week before Bloomsday, I got really sick and didn't realize what was going on until Bloomsday. I got a sinus infection.
So here we have, so first of all, and it also then our previous races had been super nice. Had been 70 degrees out.
Fun.
Every weekend kept being like 74 and just beautiful
All
out.
of our practice
And then-
so great.
And then in between the weekdays, it might get cold again, and it'd be that. And then we come into Bloomsday, and all of a sudden it's 50 degrees and rainy and windy and just miserable. And then we're all at the start line freezing, because the start line takes a while.
Yeah.
And then Kat's hopped up on who knows how many drugs.
Oh God, yeah. I'm doing stuff in my system. Dayquil and like propranolol and like some other things. And plus my pre-workout. Anyway, and I can't really breathe through my nose. And I'm pretty nervous. We're at the start line. I feel like anyone who's listening knows enough about Bloomsday. But I got so nervous. I was so nervous.
Well,
and
real quick,
shaky.
we don't know who's all. We just found out we have a listener in Japan,
Oh wow!
and we're now past the tens of people listening. We have 20s of listeners.
Whoa!
So
Okay.
we have exponential growth happening. So it might be good to explain all these things.
Seriously.
It's possible all 20 of those people are not our close friends.
Well, like
They might still
18
be.
of them.
Yeah, right. I don't think I know anyone in Japan.
Well, and today I saw someone in the parking lot at the grocery store. Amanda, you know Amanda. Shout out to
Yeah.
Amanda from Run Club. And I told her about this, and she was like, I didn't know about the podcast. Send it to me. So we might have 24.
Oh, we're gonna hit 21.
When I say we,
Yeah.
'cause I-
Well, you're in it now, so this is a we now. And
anyway.
so Bloomsday, we take off. I'm also going to start with my perspective just for a second,
Okay.
because mine's fun.
Okay.
And so we take off here. And first of all, strategy for Bloomsday again is you take off. You're just trying to get in position for the first mile. It's so crowded. You're just kind of like sprinting, stopping. It's just the way it goes, no matter what. And then it's slightly downhill, and then you hit a pretty good hill on mile 2 that really you can take advantage of a lot of speed. Really, for the first 3 miles, you can take advantage of a lot of speed there, because it's mostly downhill through that with a few short ups.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so we talked about this ahead of time. It is good to just take off fast. There's plenty of time to recover. And
That's what David said.
and then
Fast.
and then what I saw happen, and Kat is notorious for this at this point, is taking off really fast.
To be fair, I was like, okay, we're like 5 minutes before the start. I'm like, okay, what's my strategy? And you're like, just go fast.
Just go fast.
Just go fast, especially right out the gate. Go fast for the first mile as fast as you can. I'm like,
But then I
okay.
forget how fast you can go. Like, you actually are extremely fast, just not for very long.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling you could out sprint me in like 100 meters, probably.
Oh.
But anyway, so we take off, and I lose you within 5 seconds. I got no clue.
And I'm just in a zone because I feel like crap. I can't breathe. It's freezing cold. I do not want to be with you and Mike the whole time. I know if I run next to you guys to start, I'm going to feel obligated to stay with you the whole time.
Yeah.
And I did not have it.
So instead, what happened is, I didn't know where you were. I'm trying to catch Mike. Mike's running way too fast. I'm looking at my watch, like, this is not a pace we should be going. I need to really catch up to Mike to let him know, you gotta slow down.
Now you're telling people to slow.
Because we're gonna die, because we're doing 5:45 pace. Like, no, this is not sustainable for more than like another 50 feet. Like, this is not gonna work out.
And
We're gonna need that.
I never check my pace while I'm running. I
And
don't
so-
ever know how fast or slow I'm going until after.
Yeah, I can tell. And then so I'm chasing Mike down like crazy. Finally catch Mike, and we're like, hey, we gotta back off this. This is not gonna work at all. And he's like, oh, I thought you were up there. I was trying to keep up with Kat. And I look at like, here. I'm like, oh no. Like, this is we all got way too excited. We're going way too fast. This is not working. So anyway, but when I watch your splits, I do watch. So you took off extremely fast. Again, you were faster than me off the start. So I know in the first quarter mile you were doing well under 6-minute miles pace. And
Because I was started mile 2, I was already dead.
yeah, it started mile 2 actually is down. So you slowed down on the big downhill. Still not a bad pace though. Still running 7:30 down that thing. So that was not bad at all.
There's a lot of people.
But yes.
And it was wet.
Yeah. And unless you're ready for like a lot of people slalom and, just taking off mean aggressive down it. Yeah. People still get slow way down the hill. You also catch up to corporate cup usually right about there. And they're usually not very fast. So we hit that. Okay. So how'd you feel? So going down the hill, you slowed down mostly because of traffic.
Yeah, I would say so. And I was like not taking advice that I've been told, but I was like, I got catch my breath here. Again, I couldn't breathe,
Right.
and I was doing sub 6 apparently, and so I was having a really hard time. I honestly was like, I might have to walk Bloomsday
Yeah.
at some point, and I refused. So it was a hard mental thing right then.
So what it looks like when I look at again, I look at the story just looking at your splits. So you go into mile 3 and it was a bad drop off, but also there was a little bit of uphill in there, so it's not near as easy. But it feels like the story I've seen. So mile 3 is 8:24.
Okay.
And so we went from 7:10, 7:30, 8:24, which makes sense because we went from like the takeoff downhill. Now we got some uphill. Makes sense to slow down. But I feel like that drop off was so drastic that I think some bad things happened to you right around mile 3 and you got scared.
Yeah, I did. And yeah, I was wearing a really warm jacket too. Because I was just freezing. But I started to get pretty sweaty then. So I also was like, do I take it off? Do I not? It's raining. This is like a slight uphill consistent. It's exactly like.
Well, that's where, you're going up you have that little uphill and then you have a little downhill. And then you're going up that kind of long hill by the church.
Yes. Yeah.
And then there's a little bit of down from that. And then that next little uphill coming up to SFCC, I always find that really difficult. It's not long, but it's right in the middle of the race. You are kind of warmed up, but not great. And then you have this like sharp 90-degree up. And that's always hard for me. And that fits all right into that 3 mile-ish spot.
So you're saying I should have been faster on that 3 mile?
Oh, I'm not saying you should have. I'm saying that as I look at this, as a 3 mile,
I was struggling.
turmoil happened. Like things got hard. That's not no should to any of this. It's just it's just obviously. And then I feel like at mile 4, then you fell back into pace and felt pretty comfortable. And so then that should be coming across like we've now gotten up around. We've turned the corner to go up to SFCC. We're going across that plateau there.
Yeah.
And you look
I took my jacket off at
dialed
that
in
point.
here. Because even that, and then Doomsday happens in that too. So Doomsday also happens at mile 4, mile 5. So with Doomsday included, you stayed very consistent pace. So you had basically 8-minute miles, 2 miles in a row. Where you had that plateau, you were probably nicely warmed up. Maybe you had burnt through the sickness you were dealing with.
Yeah, I know. I think honestly, what helps, I had so much snot in my nose and in my throat that I kept having to like cough out or blow out. That I think honestly, taking my jacket off, I felt, oh, I can just use my jacket to wipe my face now, and then that made me feel like. I could keep going.
Okay.
Like I wasn't worried about what was happening in my head.
Okay.
Really fun details.
So that was great. And then I think you got to the top of Doomsday and a little bit past, because it looks like you pushed a little past Doomsday. And then
Lever will stop at the top of the hill.
Which is so
I go 30 seconds at the same pace or faster that I can when I get to the top of any hill. I listened to a podcast that said that a couple months ago.
That's an excellent strategy.
I'm not going to stop no matter what.
I was trained to do the same thing where, no matter how hard the hill is, get over the top. Now you're going to do 10 fast steps so you can fall into wherever your pace is. Yeah. And now if you got to rest after that, and then you can, then
I was like,
oh God, right at the top, you don't decide yet.
Yeah.
Let's get 10 steps past that. Yeah. Okay, now decide, do I actually need to rest or not? Am I okay or
totally
not? And so anyway, that's awesome. And so anyway, then that shows that too, where like you conquered Doomsday, you did good, you fell into a nice pace after that, and then fell off a cliff on mile 6. So what happened mile 6? So you've got, so this is going through Kendall Yards, arguably one of the easiest parts of the course. Because it is slightly downhill through that, and you're just turning corners. It's all mellow,
and there's more people on the course there too because it's your neighborhood.
Yeah, And so it's just cruising, and you have, and people are excited, and then things went real bad for you.
Yeah.
So what happened mile 6?
I really felt like I had nothing left in me. Yeah. And I hated that feeling because I knew I still had like a mile and a half to go.
Like,
And I always want to be able to finish a race like really, because I was like, I just want to be able to like really push at the end. And I'm like, if I don't go really slow right now, I'm not going to have anything to push. But I ended up not even having anything to give at the end.
well, then though, so you did that, and then mile 7, you kicked it right back up to 8 flat, which is right where basically where you.
Is that where you see the clock?
That's where you're.
Give you the timer and tell you how.
There's the timer. Yeah, you're at,
around that
corner. When you have a mile left still. And it'll show
on
you
Broadway.
Yeah, you're on Broadway. Yeah, you have 1 mile. You basically a mile left, maybe a mile and a half.
Yeah.
And they do have the timer of saying, okay, well, here's what the official clock is over there.
Right.
So did you see that?
That was just a mental thing for me where there's a ton of people, not as many as usual, but a ton of people on Broadway cheering for you.
Mhm.
And I got that like feeling in your stomach and heart, kind of like it takes your breath away because you're excited. Like I'm about to like finish this really hard thing. But
Did you also think your goal was still in?
I wasn't totally sure at that point. I was like, my calculations were all off for everything. And I'm like, I can't even function enough to think through what I need to do. I just know I need to go fast, but I don't have anything left.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt the whole race. I'm like, there was not a point I go back and think I have more to give right now. So
I want to touch back on that in a second, but so then what ended up happening here was, you fell right back into pace, mile left. You had, somehow you pulled that out right back to your 8 minute.
Oh, dang.
So that was a cool race. You finished your last mile and mile and a half at 8 minute, a little bit under, and which really put you just shy of what your goal was. So you were shooting for an hour, you barely missed it by a couple seconds.
24 seconds.
And we have tons of places where, probably next year, I don't think it's going to be hard for you at all.
Yeah.
To find where that speed is and what it is. Because.
Well, and if I wasn't sick, I feel like I could have done, I don't want to be too generous, like a minute or two under an hour.
I think that you could have run it let's see, where did we get the average here on this guy? Yeah, I honestly, I don't see why you couldn't average 740s for the whole thing. Probably right at
high hopes for me, but we'll see.
And
sure.
Yeah. So anyway, so you did that. Now
you keep saying like there's this story that's why we're talking about.
So here is the story. Here's what I see just from looking at the numbers is I'm excited. I take off. I'm going really good. Oh no, they hit the bottom of the hill. There's a little bit of uphill. Oh no, this is not going to work. Everything's terrible. I can't do this. Oh no, it's okay. We can get back into it for the next 4 or 5, mile 4, mile 5. We can get back to, Tuesday Hill. And Tuesday Hill's not that bad. I'm feeling pretty strong. This is pretty good. We get to the top. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. There's nothing left. That's what mile 6 is saying. And it's like, we're all done. Why did I even do this? This is so stupid. It's cold and rainy. I could be home. And then it's like, and then you hit like, but excitement. I might just still pull my goal off. Okay, we're going to kick this up. We're going to give everything we got to do this. And then, so that's what I see you go through.
Yeah.
With this.
The mental challenge of that whole race was a big one for me. And constantly up and down. What
you just said is you ran it basically feeling like you had nothing to give the whole time, which then is so cool because what toughness do you get from that, right? If I can show up here and feel dead, still come out just shy of what your goal was. And real honestly, running Bloomsday under an hour is a good accomplishment.
Yeah. Well, and that's what sucks. You're like, oh, you did so well. And I'm like, yeah, it's a good time. That's great. And like, for me, it's like, it could have been better. You know what I mean? That's what I had been training for.
Yeah.
And like,
but here you've been training for it. You've been doing all these things and then had everything stacked up against you.
Yeah.
The weather, your health, your injury. You had all of these things stacked up against you for this. And then still came up just shy of what you needed to go. And again, showing a terribly inconsistent race, where your speeds are all over the place. And which it makes it even harder. Like that is a difficult thing. Obviously you're overcoming some difficult mental things, physical things, all that's really tough.
Right.
And I just, you fought a battle here.
Yeah.
And then still ended up getting just shy where you were.
And what I wanted to do. Yeah. And I think I set that goal because I don't like setting goals I don't think I can get to because I feel like a failure. So
Well, those are
I
the
was
same
like, I
thing,
feel like
yeah.
I can do an
Yeah.
hour. I probably could have set it initially a little bit lower, but I didn't. I don't want to do that.
I personally have switched because of that failure that you can feel is switching from, rather than saying, oh, I'm going to try and run this race at this speed. Instead, I'm coming up to it saying, oh, with what training I've done, I probably will run it at this speed.
Yeah, and anything less, I'll be happy with.
Yeah, and then I'm stoked underneath that. So the awesome,
I don't set my own
I'm gonna
mental
do it, like,
expectation.
I'm exactly in shape for 55 minutes.
Yes.
I'm going to be 55 minutes. Mike pushed me, so I was a little bit fast.
Yeah, and then that feels
Yeah, that was
good.
great.
And I think that's what I'm often shooting for, is that I don't want to be disappointed, and anything less than what I set my mind on, I'll be disappointed with.
Right.
And quickly adjacent to this is we got to start differentiating between Mike Yu and Mike Atkins somehow. Because we talk about both of them.
Yeah.
often. But
They're not the same.
they're not the same.
And actually have completely opposite goals and they're training for and everything.
Yeah, Mike Atkins is doing 100-mile training. But so seeing Mike Atkins run Bloomsday nearly as quickly as you and
Oh,
Mike,
yeah, he was right behind us.
right, is like, damn it, because I'm constantly faster than him in our like run club, right? Because he just runs slow and steady until the very end. He kicks it just to beat me. But I'm like, okay, I want to be able to be strong enough to like do shorter runs at this really fast pace and also have the endurance to do it really, really long. And so knowing how Mike trains for 50Ks, 100-milers, just constantly doing like slow, long, really hard stuff, he can still bust out something so quick.
And his training over the last year, I think, shifted that where he added in some speed training. You saw it quickly.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what I see is to be at your best is to do a lot. I mean, we see that constantly on the internet's always telling us to like, you should run everything at super low heart rate.
Right. Yeah.
And then the narrative then gets around of like, you can be fast by going slow. And like, well, no, that's not true. If you're going to go slow all the time, you're going to go slow. You're training to go slow. But you do need active recovery a lot. And the older we get, we need way more than we used to. And so if you don't do any speed days, you'll never get faster.
Yeah.
You need the speed days. But if you use speed days every single day, you're just going to break down and get hurt.
Exactly.
And when we're younger, you can kind of get away with that, right? From 16, I can do 4 speed days a week.
Yeah.
And that works so you can recover so much faster. At 44, I can do 1, maybe 2. You know, I really want to do 2. I like to do 2.
Yeah.
But even 2, I find sometimes like where I'm actually just getting slower. It's like never recovering.
Right. Well, and my speed goals are not like yours and Mike's, where I'm not trying to do a 6-minute mile. Like I would be happy with being able to do a 7-minute mile or something. But so being able to do like multiple 7-minute miles in a row, for me, great. Like I will feel really good about that.
Yeah.
And that's why I can feel good about doing short, speedy stuff. To me, that's speedy. And then also doing what I set out to do yesterday.
Right.
Which.
So yesterday you went and ran 20 miles and by yourself.
Yeah.
Which is, so you beat Pre for total distance by a ways. 16 is the first. I've run 16 miles a couple times.
There's nothing I've
That's the
been
first
able to be better at you in running.
And
I have distance.
And I've never done it by myself. I did do one by myself. And it was, I stumbled to the car.
Yeah.
My last mile. I was hallucinating mac and cheese. And and chocolate milk. I needed mac and cheese and chocolate milk. I'm in the woods, still a mile from my car, and I am not even running in a straight line. I'm running slower than walking speed. I'm barely just stumbling through and trying to get back to my car. I went immediately to a gas station, bought chocolate muscle milk, downed the whole thing, and felt sick the rest of the day.
Yeah. Come back to that. That happened to me yesterday.
So let's go through your run. So you just, first of all, why were you running 20 miles yesterday?
Like I told you, if I get something in my head, I have to do it. And I woke up like last Sunday night. I was just laying in bed and I just, something on Instagram, I don't know what it was. I just was like, I want to run 20 miles this week.
How did you run? Okay, so you ran like,
2 weeks, three weekends ago, I ran a 15-miler trail run with Mike.
And besides that, what's the longest you've ever run?
my halves.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's significantly longer
Yeah.
than anything.
Yeah. So 3 weekends ago, I did the longest thing I ever did. And we ran for 3 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was trail. So we walked up hills.
Well, just going for 3 hours and 40, that is
Yeah.
a lot to go for 3 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah.
No matter what you're doing.
Yeah. And I felt pretty good. I felt pretty good in it. Like there were times I wanted to go a lot faster than we were going. Mike was in a lot of pain. His buddy was like you, he just wants to talk the whole time. And we were going much too slow for him, but it felt good. And I was like, I did that. And a trail run is really hard. And I just want to be able to like go longer. And then I went to the Spokane Trail Run a few weeks ago because Mike did was that a 50K or 25 miler? It's 25 miler.
I don't know.
The river run. I did the relay of it, but
sure
he did
50K.
50K.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Whatever it is, I brought the kids and like we cheered him on.
Yeah.
And I went to your house after that for his birthday party, and I saw him cross the finish line, and I was like, I need that. I need to experience that. And
he made it look fun too, because he didn't come across the finish line looking great.
Yeah.
Video of it, and like, it really looks like he just had a great time. That looks so appealing now.
I was on a high watching his high, which he told me later he was not even on his runner's high yet. He was like, this sucks. But he looked good. Yeah. And I remember coming to your house and telling you and Christy, like, guys, I gotta do it. I'm doing a 25K. I don't want to do a marathon because for me, a marathon means I'm going to get set in my head. I got to do a certain time. I'm going to have to do a lot of speed work. I don't want to do that. That sounds too hard. And I don't want to do 26 miles, but I'll do a 50K where I can 30 miles where I can walk up hills. And then it feels less pressury to get under a certain amount of time. So that was kind of like that progression. And then last week I was like, I think I just am going to do 20 miles this week. Yeah. So I threw it out to the group and no one could come. And I'm like, I'm doing it. It's stuck in my head. I'm going to do it.
It's hard for me not to say yes to everything. So like, I really wanted to.
Yeah, I know. Well, and
something's happening. I want to do it.
Yeah. Well, and I was like talking with him a little bit about it on the side because I was like, I feel like if I keep talking about this in the group, it's just making David jealous because he doesn't have the time to go run for 4 hours today. I was like, so can I just be venting to you about this right now? Like, what I'm processing with mentally gearing up for this 20-mile run.
It's okay for me to feel jealous.
I know. I just don't. I feel bad. No,
it doesn't feel bad. I get excited.
Okay.
Okay, so then your 20 mile was drastically different than Bloomsday. You did an amazing job of running the exact same pace the entire time.
Except for the end, I got faster.
And then your heart rate was hilarious to watch because their heart rate tells the story.
Right, and I can use words to help that heart rate story too. I'm so mad. I lost my focus at the end. I'm probably jumping ahead.
Okay? Well, let's talk about the heart rate thing real quick. So I have some theories about this. Okay. As I've been watching this and then like really watching my data myself, is I keep noticing that my pace and heart rate are not correlated at all. It more has to do with my heart rate tends to be more of a mental state than anything. Yeah. And if I myself am just relaxed and calmed down, it kind of doesn't matter what pace I'm running. I can keep my heart rate relaxed and calm down. And listen, really quick. I mean, obviously, this is in a moderate run to begin with. This is not a race pace. Obviously race pace, I'm spiked, is up there around like 160 the whole time. Yeah. But if I'm not at race pace, anything below race pace, I can run at 140 as long as my head's in the right place. But if my head's in the wrong place, I can run 13-minute miles and have my heart rate at 160. Yeah. Which is so stupid. We have to do a whole podcast episode about that. We can piggyback off of last week's episode too. Okay. About how mental space plays into all of it. And I'm finding so much more for doing that. Yeah. So you ran 20 miles. I ran 20 miles. And honestly, I think the paces, I don't think is even interesting to talk about. You ran... Yeah. You lined into... Well, I started out really slow. Well, I should stop saying like really slow or really fast. I started out going like, I'm going to go
slower than I think I need to go because I want to make it through.
Mhm.
And I was nervous that I wouldn't be able to finish or I would have to like walk a bunch or something. And so I thought, I'm not going to start out. I always start out too fast. I'm not going to start out too fast, which I did. My first mile was a bit faster. But then I got into like a 10:40 sort of.
Mhm.
And then on my final 10, I was feeling pretty good. The part of me that wasn't feeling pretty good was like, I just wanted this to be over. So the quicker I can get home, the better, which is often when I screw up my heart rate. 'Cause I'm like,
Sure.
I just want this run to be over.
Mhm.
And we can talk about all of it. My headphones died. My Apple Watch battery was low. I was like, if this doesn't record my heart rate, I'm gonna... and then I ran out of water and I saw all these things. I was like, I just want this to be over.
Where else you run out of water?
I made it last till 17,
Oh, okay.
but I could have finished it at 15.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just like, I know I'm going to need a little sip.
And you brought two
I brought
water bottles?
24 ounces. Maybe.
Okay, so you went through a lot of water.
Yeah, or maybe they were 14 ounces.
And how long were you running? How long did the whole thing take you?
The whole thing took me 3 hours and 23 minutes.
Uh-huh.
And so, but at the end, I wasn't thinking about my breathing or my heart rate. Again, I just mental space. I was like, I want to be done here. I need water.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until mile like 19 that I was like, oh shit, I haven't been thinking about my breathing, my heart rate. Because if I think about it, I could have still run, because then I dropped to like 940, 950 minute miles on the second half, a couple of 10s. But I wasn't thinking about my breath.
Sure.
So my heart rate spiked a bit, but I've never run that long. And I was at 130. My heart rate was at
It was really low.
140. Cause I'm always at like 170, 180. Right. And so right at the end there, I got to, I think the highest I ever got was 166.
Yeah.
Which for me, that's normally a baseline moderate 8-minute a mile run.
That was a really low heart rate for your first 7 miles.
Yeah.
It was really low.
Yeah.
And then even then you're still sitting mid 140. So you're comfortable into mile 14.
Totally. Like I was breathing through my nose most of the entire time.
Nice.
I walked when I had to take my backpack off to like get a gel out or something.
Sure.
And so I walked for a couple of steps.
So how much did you eat while going?
Yeah. During the run, throughout the day, because it was like this whole thing to think.
Well, yeah, you had to prep all the way into it, right?
Yeah.
And then
I normally
you don't need a bathroom stop on 3 hours,
yes,
right?
Yes. And I normally prefer to do runs in the morning, but I couldn't because of work. And I started at 2:30 in the afternoon. So I was like, okay, I plan this whole day out. But I ended up right before the run, I had a piece of toast and pre-workout, just like one scoop though. I didn't overdo it. And then about 45 minutes in, I had a gel, birthday cake flavor, highly recommend. And then on mile, let's see here, maybe another 45 minutes after that, right at the 10-mile mark. So my 10-mile mark, I had one of those like a waffle cookie things.
Okay.
Some kind of energy booster. And that was great. I remember why I had that, because my plan was to take another gel at that point, a caffeine gel. I had caffeine in it. And my stomach was like I was hungry.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I need something more substantial than a gel, right? I need to like eat something.
So wait, when did you eat your first one again?
A mile, was 45 minutes in.
Okay.
4 mile, 3 or 4.
Yeah, so fairly early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what they say to do. Every 45 minutes, you should have a gel. If
This is something I don't know anything about.
Right, you don't know
eating while running.
Yeah. So they might say every 45 minutes do it so you don't get behind.
I feel like they're teaching me the way he's my brother.
It's great.
Yeah, and you don't do long distance.
Yeah. No, I do the real long distance. Yeah, right.
Apparently I'm a sprinter. I don't even run.
You're a sprinter at 13 miles.
Yeah, you only love 13 miles.
And then so I had in one water bottle, I had water. The other, I had this like scratch drink, which basically has electrolytes and carbohydrates.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm also like drinking carbohydrates.
I've had one of those,
Water.
and I found that really useful while on a long run, especially if it was hot out.
Yeah.
Like, it made a big.
It was really great.
Mm-hmm.
And this is all coached me by Mike.
Yeah.
And then I had these like sour gummy energy things, and I ended up having 3 of those on the later half. So I probably started at mile like 13.
Mm-hmm.
No. I think I had one at mile 9, and then one at 13, and one at like 17.
Mm-hmm.
But in my head, I was like, I would have taken another gel at mile 18. I'm almost home. I'm gonna go to bed soon. Like I was like,
Sure.
and so I didn't want one.
I can't imagine those. I've never done a job. I've never been tried one before.
Yeah.
And but you just the idea of them, of putting that in my stomach while running,
Yes.
seems like that's not going to go well for me. Like,
And it
just feels like that's going to come out soon, one way or another.
I think for some people it does. It's in it because you like read online that it'll just like destroy people's stomachs. They need to go to the bathroom.
Sure.
Really, I didn't. I definitely got a boost of energy.
Mhm.
I definitely felt like it helped me keep going. The thing that was hardest for me was just my body.
Yeah.
So at my like 11, my knees started really hurting.
Yeah.
It's been a thing for me. And so then
I'd
I
always
started-
curious to say, like, anytime when I hit, like, when I'm just running a half marathon or whatever, it's like, yeah, right around mile 10,
Yes,
things just hurt. It's been pounding for a long
a
time.
long time.
And it doesn't matter what shoes I'm in. I mean, some shoes are better than others, but
It's still pounding.
and my form tends to fall apart around, like, if I've been running for usually right around an hour 20, hour 30, my form starts to fall apart. Doesn't matter what speed I'm doing. It's like I even get my head about it. Like, I don't know how to hold my hands in.
Yeah,
but,
you
like,
got to
things
think
feel
about it a lot more.
Yeah. And so you must experience that even more so.
Yeah, well, and so then I was like trying to be good with my form. I did get to a certain spot where like I let my arms be so loose, and like that felt really good, like my
Mhm.
wrists and my arms. And but with my knee, what was I going to say? Oh, it felt harder to run slower on my knee, which I think we've talked about
Mhm.
before. And so then that also contributed to me wanting to speed up a little bit.
Sure.
Like if I do longer strides, I'm not pounding the floor as hard.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was going faster.
There's a whole thing to smoothness being better,
Yeah.
right, and more
Yeah.
efficient. And I think
Yeah.
that's something we miss in that conversation with we just say, oh, slower conserves more energy. It's not necessarily true. Slower, faster, it doesn't have. It's where we're most efficient.
Yeah.
That's where we're using the least amount of energy. We can relax at that pace, and everyone's got that pace a little different. Kind of what your stride is like,
Yeah.
what how you train, all of those things.
Yeah.
And I do tend to notice I can't run very far at that, but I'm smoothest right around like 6 minutes. I just can't do it for hardly
Mhm.
any time. But that's where I'm smooth. Like you get in good enough shape.
Well, so maybe that's probably
But-
not your smoothest.
But really,
then.
like,
Can't like what is your consistent?
as long as if I'm 8 minutes or faster, I still have a very smooth stride,
Yeah.
and I'm not using very much energy. I can talk right around there. And as soon as I go slower than that, I
Mhm.
start pounding.
Mhm.
And then it all falls apart. My knees start to hurt. my heart rate actually goes up,
Yeah.
you know? And so
Yeah.
it's right around there. And I almost have felt that, like, okay, well, I just need to train now to where 8 minutes, I can do that for a really long time. And so I'm going to do a marathon or whatever, you think that I'm going to have to get there.
Yeah. Well,
Because
to do that, you
you'll
have to
slow down.
learn how to run slower, which is why I've been doing it. Like I've been having, it's a mental hurdle to go slower than 8:25 for me.
Yeah.
Like I have to really be intentional and focus. And I'm doing a different kind of stride
Mm-hmm.
where I'm like barely picking my feet up off the ground.
Right.
And I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
But I-
Christina and I ran 10s yesterday. And it was very much like, oh, I need to remember, like, oh, we're hanging out. This is what we're doing.
It's
you know?
also like good for your body in a different
Mhm.
way. And you're doing something different, and which I think anytime you do something different for your muscles, they're growing because they're having something different that they're not used to.
Yeah. for
Even if it means going like slower on a run, your muscles are still having to do something different.
Well, to that point, exactly. Yeah. So yesterday we ran 7 miles
Mhm.
in the woods, really slow. We walked most of the hills,
Yeah.
you know. So I pushed one hill just because I was feeling like
Yeah.
back. And then we were like, well, we just hung out together. We just went for a nice, easy run. We talked, you know, all that stuff. And then, and today my legs hurt.
Yeah.
Like I'm really sore today,
Yes.
where I could have, like had I run that the way because it's a trail I run all the time, and I'm usually not sore afterwards. But definitely, we did it different than usual.
Yep.
And now I'm hurting.
I experienced that when I did I don't remember if it was the 15 trail or just a different slower run that I did. Because on that 15 trail, we did some like 15-minute miles.
Yeah.
Obviously, we were walking up hills.
Mm.
But
some of that stuff that goes steep too.
yeah,
Really different.
my theory, which is not scientific, but likely pretty true, is that when you're running really fast, your legs there's no hang time for your legs in the air, if that makes sense. You're kind of just like moving.
Yeah.
When you're going slow, it's kind of like a reach forward, linger in the back, reach.
Sure.
And so my quads and hamstrings and glutes were a lot, and my hip flexors are sore because you're having to like hold them up in the air
Right.
longer. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I understand.
so I'm like, oh, so of course I'm going to be sore because I'm using those muscles.
And it's probably a mix of that and 100 other things like that. Right? It's just so much different.
Yeah.
Different paces have a drastically different thing you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's working your body completely different.
So different.
And yeah. So, okay. So how do you feel today?
Yeah. Today I also took 3 ibuprofen before I ran. Because this is important. The day before, so yesterday was a 20, the day before was a leg day at the gym. And I was like, it looked like such a good workout. I wanted to do it so bad. I did like 1 round through and was like, oh no, this is like all quads. I'm going to die.
And I've been to your gym. I know what to do you. It took me a week and a half to recover from an arm day. And usually I recover from arm days just fine. And that took me out for a long time.
Bloomsday, you couldn't even move your arms.
I am completely aware of what your gym can do.
Yeah. So I was like, I can't do this. Also, I've been looking forward to my 20 miler all week.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I'm not going to screw up this 20 miler tomorrow by being sore. And my hamstring had actually been feeling quite fine. Quite fine. And then I did the part of the leg workout, but mostly just did core instead of leg, but I did some leg. And then we had run club that night. And I had it in my head that I was going to do speed at run club.
Yeah.
Because I haven't done speed in a while and I wanted to.
That was probably not a bad shakeout for that, actually.
Except it really messed up my hamstring.
Oh, did it? Oh, no.
Yesterday, all day yesterday, and like after the run the night before, like it hurts so bad just by walking. And it hasn't been bothering me really to walk like at all. It hurts if I do certain movements, but not walking. And yesterday, so sore. I was like, I foam rolled as much as I could. I used a massage gun. And that's what I was kind of telling Mike. I was like, oh no, my hip flexors.
Yeah.
Were really sore. And I was like, I've been really looking forward to this run and I felt so good yesterday. Why is this happening today? So I had that in my head too. Right before I went on this 20, I was like, dang it, my hamstring's killing me. And so it did for a lot of the run. And today it's really hurting.
Is it?
But I'll go see someone Tuesday and I hope I'll feel better. And then other than that, my feet are pretty sore and then my knees are pretty sore. I think if my hamstring was better yesterday and I had more water, and I could have popped a couple more ibuprofen. I think I would have been fine to keep going.
Yeah.
Like I had it in my head at mile like 17. I'm like, these 3 miles are going to be rough because I'm thirsty. But if I just did an extra loop around the park, I could just do 26 miles.
Right.
Like you're going to get to the end. So I wasn't to the end of like, I can't do another step. I want it to be over.
And once you run that far, all of a sudden you're like, what's another 6 miles?
Yeah.
Right? That's no big deal, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool to just like run a marathon for fun right now? Which like an hour ago, I told you I never wanted to run a marathon. So that's in my brain.
So was it okay already though? Have you like you're already speaking on this pretty fondly?
Yeah, even right after, I never had a moment of like I'm never going to do that again.
Yeah,
even on the run itself, I was never like this was a terrible idea. I was like my knee really hurts and I'm pretty thirsty, and I shouldn't have made mile 18 and uphill.
Nice, right?
Because being thirsty and going uphill was not good. but I'm kind of like in 2 more weekends when I have a Saturday or Friday afternoon free, I think I might do it again.
Yeah, for sure. I might join you.
Great. Yeah.
Okay, so then what's next now? Like I feel like you jumped into this thing now where you went from not a runner a year ago, adamantly not a runner, to now you're probably in the top 5% of runners in Spokane.
No.
Female runners.
No.
In Spokane. Yeah, like quite seriously with that kind of speed.
But I don't use that speed so much.
Well, you're sitting down.
You're saying the potential.
Well, let's just take if you're under an hour in Bloomsday, you're probably in the top 5% of women. So that's it.
Sure. Okay,
So any race we show up to, you're gonna be in the top 5%.
Yeah.
Is where you're at now with those speeds. So any race you do now, probably that's a half marathon or shorter, because I can't speak to anything longer than that.
Right.
You're probably in the top 5%.
Yeah, maybe.
So anyway, so you went from that to being a really good runner. You still can't like stay on pace to save your life, but really good.
I gotta get a new watch so I can just like know what I'm doing.
So what's the next plan though? What like, do you have some other things that you're excited to go and test what your body can do now that you've turned it into this thing?
I mean, I want to do a 50 miler, and I don't have anything planned.
Is that this year? Do you want to shoot for this year?
I think it'll be next year. I think I could, again, I'm like, I did 20 yesterday. I could just do that twice, like plus 10. I
completely get what you're saying. I'm like, yeah, I get that. Yeah, that adds up.
But I'm just thinking about like the year ahead, and I'm also thinking like I'm not going to run again this winter. And
are you going to take the winter?
I can't. I hate it so much. I hate running outside in the cold and the snow, and I hate being cold. So I don't know. I think if I can rehab properly my leg, I know that I am afraid of doing speed work because it's hard. And so this isn't to say anything against like long distance runners, because 50 miles is really freaking hard and 100 miles is really freaking hard. But for some reason in my mind, that slower, longer lasting pain is better than the way I feel like after you made me do track work a month ago.
Our two intervals.
Yeah. We did 2 intervals.
What do you call it? Track work, but it was not track. We did 2 intervals.
To be fair, I was not.
No, you were not ready. You were not
prepped
for that.
But like the way that I feel after doing speed work hurts so bad, like breathing wise and getting oxygen.
Oh, it's miserable.
Yeah, I would rather do 100 miles.
I would even say I don't really get a runner's high from that.
No,
thing like that.
No,
this is to do it so that tomorrow's run is more fun.
Right.
But the track workout itself is like, no, it's just pain.
Which is where I think that's my mental block where, did I just stop trying to get fast because it got too hard and now I'm doing something easier?
Well, we have plans to do some group track days.
Yeah.
And we don't have to do it with each other. We're just gonna like said, here's the workout. Let's all go do the workout at the pace you want to do it at. We'll hang out together, kiss and have fun.
Yeah.
And maybe the camaraderie of all that will help.
It's so miserable.
It is miserable.
It's so miserable. But yeah, I'll be there.
Right? Exactly. All right. Well, I think we've gone on a very long time.
Yeah.
So we had a lot to talk about.
We sure did.
So anyway, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. This is fun.